News just broke out of Cleveland, and the football world is buzzing. The Browns have made it official. Joe Flacco will be their Week 1 starting quarterback against the Cincinnati Bengals. On the surface, that announcement sounds straightforward, maybe even predictable. A veteran quarterback with years of experience, a Super Bowl ring, and the ability to steady an offense, it makes sense, right? But here's the thing. What the Browns announced and what's really happening behind closed doors are two completely different stories. And trust me when I tell you, this one has the power to change the entire trajectory of the franchise. Because buried inside that seemingly ordinary press conference wasn't just a depth chart. It was a message, a warning. And for those who paid attention, it was a glimpse at the Browns' real plan for their future, a future that revolves around one name the franchise doesn't dare say out loud just yet: Shadeur Sanders. Think about this. Behind Flacco, they listed Dillon Gabriel as the backup and Sanders as the third option. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than standard procedure. Protect the rookie, let him learn, keep him out of the fire. But anyone who's been watching closely knows better. Because Shedeur's preseason performance wasn't ordinary. It wasn't just another rookie audition. It was the kind of showing that forces organizations to rethink everything. Calm under pressure, precise in his decision-making, and commanding on the field, it was the type of debut that makes fans and analysts alike whisper, "Wait a second, did we just see the future of the Browns?" And those whispers? They're only getting louder. Around the city, in locker rooms, and even across the national media, one question keeps echoing. Why is the kid sitting third when he might already be the best quarterback on the roster? The Browns know exactly what they're doing, or at least they hope they do, because this isn't just about who takes the first snap in Week 1. This is about controlling the narrative, buying time, and managing the tidal wave that comes with a talent like Shadeur Sanders. Because whether Flacco plays well or not, whether Gabriel shows flashes or not, fans are already restless. And when those boos start echoing through First Energy Stadium, and they will, there's only one name the crowd will chant. And that's where the story gets dangerous for Cleveland. Because the more they hold him back, the more the pressure builds. Every throw he makes in practice, every highlight in preseason, every calm response at the podium adds fuel to the fire. And when you combine that with the fact that this fan base has been starving for a real franchise quarterback, you begin to see why this decision to name Joe Flacco the starter isn't the end of the story. It's the very beginning of something bigger. So buckle up. Because while the headlines say Joe Flacco is starting Week 1, the truth is, Cleveland's future is already sitting on that bench, waiting for the moment that could shake this franchise to its core. When Kevin Stefanski walked up to the podium and calmly read out his depth chart, the room seemed almost bored. Joe will start the game, Dillon will play second, Shedeur will play third. No drama, no fireworks, no theatrics. Just a coach listing names in order. For casual fans, it was the kind of update you'd skim past in a tweet and move on with your day. But for those who have been following this quarterback saga closely, that short statement might have been one of the most calculated strategic announcements the Browns have made in years. On paper, it looks simple. Joe Flacco, the veteran, gets the nod. He's steady, he's experienced, and he won't be rattled by opening week pressure. Dillon Gabriel slides in at number 2, the developmental arm with raw talent. And Shadeur Sanders, the rookie, sits third, the so-called protected project. To most, that makes sense. But here's where the story twists. The Browns don't actually see Sanders as third. They see him as the golden ticket. Think about how franchises protect assets they believe in. You don't throw your crown jewel into the fire during Week 1 of a brutal divisional matchup against Cincinnati's defense. You shield him. You control the spotlight around him. You carefully design the situations he steps into so he can dominate and grow without being swallowed by the pressure cooker of NFL expectations. That's exactly what Cleveland just did, but by saying third, Stefanski bought himself something invaluable: time. Time to let Flacco take the heat if things go wrong. Time to let Gabriel absorb the pressure of being next in line. And most importantly, time to keep Sanders fresh in the minds of fans without actually putting him in a position where one bad game could derail the hype. It's the kind of quiet, strategic play that makes sense in theory, but also creates a storm they might not be able to control. Because the fans aren't buying it. They've seen Flacco before. They know Gabriel is talented but raw. And they've now had a taste of Sanders in preseason, a taste that looked nothing like a rookie who should be sitting third. So while Stefanski thinks he's protecting his investment, he might also be fueling the fire that could burn hotter than anything he expects. The more the team pretends Sanders is just another rookie waiting his turn, the more the city of Cleveland starts to believe he's the answer right now. And here's the truth. Coaches can make depth charts, but fans decide narratives. They decide who gets cheered, who gets booed, and ultimately, who becomes the face of the franchise. If Sanders really is the golden ticket, the Browns can't hide him forever, because every snap Flacco takes, every interception Gabriel throws, will only push the chance louder. And this is where the Browns' quiet little announcement turns into something far bigger. Because if third on the depth chart was just a smokescreen, then what Cleveland really revealed was not who their starter is, but who their future belongs to. But to really understand why this depth chart matters so much, you have to rewind to the moment that started all of this. Shadeur Sanders' preseason performance that changed everything. Before we dive into the politics and strategy of Cleveland's quarterback room, let's go back to the moment that lit this entire fire, Shedeur Sanders' preseason debut. If you missed it, you might think this was just another rookie getting his first taste of NFL action. But if you watched closely, you know it was much more than that. Shedeur didn't just survive his first snaps in the pros, he owned them. Calm in the pocket, sharp with his reads, decisive with the football. He didn't look like a kid testing the waters. He looked like a quarterback who had been here before, who knew exactly what he wanted to do with every possession. The timing, the confidence, the way he carried himself, it was the kind of performance that made analysts lean forward in their chairs and fans sit up a little straighter. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a hot streak. This was preparation meeting opportunity. Sanders has been groomed for this moment his entire life, and it showed. Where most rookies jitter through their progressions or try to force throws to prove themselves, Shedeur played with patience. He took what the defense gave him. When the window was tight, he trusted his mechanics. When nothing was there, he didn't panic. That kind of poise is rare for a veteran, let alone someone just stepping into the NFL spotlight. Now contrast that with the guys ahead of him on the depth chart. Joe Flacco? Steady, sure, experienced, no doubt. But he's not a long-term solution. Everyone knows that. Dillon Gabriel? He flashed talent, but the inconsistency was glaring. That ill-timed interception in the preseason wasn't just a mistake, it was a red flag. In a league where one bad decision can cost you a game, those moments matter. But Sanders? He didn't flinch. He played like someone who had nothing to prove and everything to gain, and that's what shook Cleveland. Because the fans didn't just see a rookie quarterback playing well, they saw hope. Real, tangible hope that maybe, just maybe, the Browns finally stumbled onto the one thing they've been chasing for decades, a franchise quarterback. The energy in the stadium shifted. You could feel it. Every completion drew louder cheers. Every drive added fuel to the whispers. Is this the guy? And those whispers didn't fade when the game ended. They followed Sanders into the locker room, onto social media, and right back into the offices of the Browns' front office. For Cleveland, that single preseason performance created a problem, a good problem, but a problem nonetheless. Because once fans see a glimpse of greatness, you can't unsee it. You can't tell them to be patient when the rookie already looks better than the vets. You can't hide that spark once it's been lit. And that's why this preseason game mattered so much. It wasn't just a rookie debut, it was the first domino in a chain reaction that the Browns might not be able to stop. But as powerful as that moment was, the story didn't end there, because while Sanders was winning over fans with his play, something even bigger was happening. He was already becoming the heartbeat of the city. If there's one thing the Cleveland Browns know better than any franchise in football, it's the power of their fan base. The Dog Pound isn't just a catchy nickname, it's a culture. Generations of fans have lived through heartbreak, false dawns, and endless quarterback experiments. They've cheered through the misery, endured the collapses, and kept showing up in one of the most loyal displays the NFL has ever seen. And now, those same fans believe they've finally seen a glimpse of the future in Shadeur Sanders. Here's the reality. Cleveland fans are tired of safe. They're tired of placeholders. They don't just want a quarterback who can keep the offense on schedule. They want someone who can change the game, someone who makes them believe they can go toe-to-toe with the league's best. And when Sanders stepped onto the field in preseason, he didn't just throw passes, he threw gasoline on that fire. You could feel it in the stadium. Every time he dropped back, the energy shifted. Every completion, every calm decision, every flash of poise felt like a breath of fresh air. It wasn't just excitement for a rookie. It was relief. Relief that maybe, at long last, the Browns had a quarterback worth believing in. The fans didn't need to see perfection, they just needed to see potential, and Sanders gave them exactly that. Now, here's where it gets dangerous for the organization. Once fans decide who they want, there's no turning back. It doesn't matter what the depth chart says. It doesn't matter how many times Kevin Stefanski insists on patience. The moment Joe Flacco throws an incompletion, the chants will start. The first time Dillon Gabriel forces a bad decision, boos will rain down. And echoing above it all will be one name, Shedeur. This isn't speculation. We've seen it before in Cleveland. Quarterbacks come and go, and fans cling to the next guy as the savior. But Sanders feels different. It's not just about his arm or his mechanics. It's about his presence. Kids line up for autographs. Veterans nod with respect. Teammates rally around him. He's not just another rookie quarterback. He's a symbol of something bigger. Hope. And hope is powerful in a city that has been starved of it for decades. That's why the fan factor matters here more than it might anywhere else. In a market like Cleveland, the relationship between the quarterback and the fans is more than just on-field performance. It's emotional. It's generational. And when fans sense that the future is already on the roster, no amount of coach speak or veteran experience is going to silence them. The Browns may think they're in control of this quarterback situation, but history tells a different story. In Cleveland, the fans write the script. And right now, the script they're writing has one clear headline: Shadeur Sanders is the quarterback we've been waiting for. But here's where the story takes another turn, because while the fans are chanting his name, Sanders is already proving he's more than just a crowd favorite. He's showing leadership beyond his years, even in the middle of controversy. Talent alone doesn't make a franchise quarterback. The NFL is filled with players who could throw the ball a mile or run circles around defenders, but when the lights got bright, they cracked. What separates the good from the great is something far more rare: leadership. And that's where Shedeur Sanders is already proving he's not just another promising rookie. He's operating on a level most veterans never reach. The perfect example came during the recent controversy surrounding Dillon Gabriel's entertainers versus competitors comments. Media outlets spun the story to make it sound like Gabriel was taking a direct shot at Sanders. In a league where ego clashes can derail locker rooms, this could have exploded into drama. But Shedeur's response? Pure calm. He didn't lash out. He didn't feed the headlines. He simply said that words don't affect him, that he doesn't even think about negativity, and that Gabriel explained directly to him it wasn't meant the way it came across. End of story. That wasn't just maturity, that was wisdom. Most rookies would have fired back or let themselves get pulled into the circus. Sanders brushed it off like a seasoned pro, showing he's already mastered something most players struggle with for years: controlling the narrative rather than letting the narrative control him. And make no mistake, his teammates noticed. Veterans respect composure. They respect when a young guy doesn't flinch under pressure, especially when the spotlight is as intense as it's been on Sanders. But it goes beyond the media. Look at the way he carries himself in the locker room. He's not just another rookie hanging in the background, waiting for his turn. He's already interacting with leaders like Myles Garrett, already taking ownership of his role, already building bonds with younger players who see him as a role model. You can't fake that. You can't teach it in film study or on the practice field. That's something you either have or you don't. What's even more impressive is how effortless it looks for him. When Shedeur talks, he doesn't sound rehearsed. He doesn't sound like a kid trying too hard to be taken seriously. He just sounds real, authentic. And in today's NFL, where locker rooms are filled with strong personalities and distractions at every turn, that authenticity is priceless. Fans may be chanting his name for his play on the field, but his teammates are rallying behind him because of the way he acts off it. That's the hidden ingredient of a true franchise quarterback. It's not just about making throws, it's about making people believe in you. Sanders already has that it factor, that unteachable presence that draws people in. And here's the kicker: he's only just getting started. If this is how he handles pressure now, imagine what happens when the Browns finally give him the keys. But if you think this leadership just appeared out of nowhere, think again. Because there's a reason Sanders is built this way, and it all comes back to the influence of one man, his father, Deion Prime Sanders. If you want to understand why Shadeur Sanders looks so composed, so prepared, and so unfazed by the chaos swirling around him, you have to look at where he comes from. Because Shedeur didn't just stumble into the NFL spotlight, he was raised in it. And the man behind that preparation is none other than his father, Deion Sanders. Deion isn't just a Hall of Fame cornerback. He's an icon, one of the biggest personalities the sport has ever seen. From the bright lights of the NFL to the baseball diamond, from his flashy style to his unmatched confidence, Prime has lived under the kind of scrutiny that could crush most people. And instead of letting that weight break him, he turned it into fuel. Now, he's passed that same resilience down to his son. While most kids grow up playing backyard football, Shedeur grew up with one of the greatest athletes of all time, teaching him the ins and outs of pressure. Deion didn't just teach mechanics or footwork, he taught mindset. He taught Shedeur how to keep his cool when the cameras are flashing, how to deal with criticism when the headlines turn negative, and how to embrace the spotlight instead of running from it. That's why when the media tried to stir drama with Dylan Gabriel's comments, Shedeur didn't bite. That's Prime's influence. He's been trained to handle those moments like second nature. And here's the thing, that kind of training doesn't just show up in interviews, it shows up in the huddle. It shows up in the way Shedeur carries himself around teammates, the way he doesn't flinch when the pocket collapses, the way he stays patient when rookies around him are pressing to prove themselves. That composure is learned behavior drilled into him since day one, by a father who knew exactly what the NFL spotlight does to young players. But Deion didn't just prepare Shedeur for the spotlight, he prepared him for leadership. At Colorado, Prime pushed him to be the face of the program. He made sure his son wasn't just learning plays, but learning how to inspire teammates, how to carry responsibility, how to answer tough questions without breaking character. Those lessons translate directly to the NFL. And when you watch Shedeur handle himself with the Browns, you can see the fingerprints of Prime all over him. Most rookies get overwhelmed by the speed of the game, the complexity of defenses, or the weight of fan expectations. Shedeur, he looks like he's been here for years. That's not a coincidence. That's the Prime effect. And here's why it matters. The Browns aren't just sitting on a talented quarterback. They're sitting on a player who's been mentally programmed to thrive in situations most veterans crumble under. That's the difference between a project and a franchise cornerstone. But here's the real dilemma for Cleveland. When you've got a quarterback this prepared, this polished, and this important to your fans, how dangerous would it be to even think about letting him go? That's where the trade rumors come in, and that's where things get really messy. In the NFL, rumors spread like wildfire, and when whispers of the Browns potentially trading Shadeur Sanders started floating around, fans didn't just raise their eyebrows, they erupted. For Cleveland, the idea of letting go of Sanders isn't just a risky move, it's a potentially catastrophic one. Because if history has taught us anything, it's this: you don't gamble away a quarterback who looks like the real deal. Let's be real here. The Browns have been searching for stability at quarterback for decades. From Johnny Manziel to Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson, the carousel has been relentless. Some flashed potential, others flamed out, and some brought baggage that overshadowed their play. The result? A franchise that's had talent in almost every other position but has never found the leader under center who could tie it all together. Enter Shadeur Sanders, a player who not only brings skill but also hope. And hope is something you don't trade, because hope is what fills the seats, what keeps jerseys selling, and what keeps the fan base from turning on ownership when things go wrong. For a city like Cleveland, where football isn't just a sport but a way of life, losing Shedeur would feel like betrayal. But it's not just about fans' emotions. From a pure football perspective, the risk is enormous. Say the Browns trade him to another team, what happens if Sanders develops into a superstar elsewhere? Suddenly, Cleveland looks like the team that let their future walk out the door. It's the kind of mistake that haunts franchises for decades. Just ask teams that passed on Patrick Mahomes or traded away Brett Favre. On top of that, Sanders has already shown he has the intangibles most teams beg for in a quarterback. He has the leadership, he has the poise, he has the fan connection. Those are things you can't coach, things you can't replace by just drafting another rookie or signing a veteran. If Cleveland let him go, they wouldn't just be trading a player, they'd be trading away the momentum they've finally built. And here's the kicker. Even the rumors alone are dangerous. They create unrest in the locker room, they send mixed signals to the fan base, and they add unnecessary pressure to the coaching staff. For a young player like Sanders, knowing your name is in trade talks can shake confidence. But instead, Shedeur has handled it like a pro, once again proving why he's not someone you gamble with. The Browns need to understand something very clearly. Quarterbacks like this don't come around often. If they make the mistake of letting Sanders go, they won't just lose a player, they'll lose the trust of their fans, the respect of their locker room, and possibly the future of their franchise. And as the trade chatter continues, the biggest question looms large. Will the Browns double down on Sanders as the future, or will they make a move that fans would never forgive? When you step back from the headlines, the preseason flashes, and the rumors of trades, what becomes clear is this: Shadeur Sanders isn't just playing for today, he's playing the long game. And in the NFL, that's the only way to truly survive. See, most rookies are focused on the next practice, the next rep, the next chance to impress coaches. They burn bright, but many of them burn out just as quickly. Shedeur? He's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. His moves aren't about winning over one coach in one camp, they're about building a career that lasts 10, maybe 15 years. That's rare for a player his age, but it's exactly what sets him apart. Part of this comes from his upbringing. Being raised by Deion Sanders means he's been hearing about the business side of football for years. Contracts, endorsements, locker room politics. Shedeur has been watching and learning long before he ever strapped on an NFL helmet. He knows this league isn't just about throwing touchdowns, it's about navigating power, image, and opportunity. That's why he's not rattled by rumors or shaken by pressure. He knows the spotlight will always shift, but the players who think long-term are the ones who stay standing when the hype fades. But it's more than just strategy. The long game for Shedeur is about legacy. This isn't just about making money or being a temporary fan favorite, it's about building something that lasts. He wants to be remembered as more than just Deion's son, more than just a preseason spark. He wants his name carved into NFL history as a quarterback who changed the culture, who brought stability, and who proved the doubters wrong. That's why every decision he makes, from how he speaks in interviews to how he trains in the offseason, is bigger than the moment. It's all part of the plan. For the Browns, this should be both exciting and terrifying, because if they play their cards right, Shedeur could be the cornerstone they've been waiting for. But if they mishandle him, if they trade him, bench him too long, or fail to give him the right support he's built to thrive somewhere else. And given the way he's wired, he wouldn't just succeed, he'd make sure Cleveland never forgot what they gave away. That's the essence of the long game. It's patience, it's strategy. It's understanding that the NFL isn't about who looks the flashiest in August, but who's still winning games in December and January. Shadeur Sanders is preparing for that reality, step by step, moment by moment. And that's why the final chapter of this story isn't about trade rumors or preseason hype. It's about one simple but powerful question. Is Cleveland ready to match Shedeur's vision for the future, or will they let another generational talent slip through their fingers? No matter how the rumors spin, no matter what debates rage across talk shows or in comment sections, one thing feels undeniable: the future of Shadeur Sanders is inevitable. And that inevitability is bigger than the Browns, bigger than the preseason, and bigger than any single narrative. It's about a young quarterback who has all the tools and the mentality to shape the league in the years to come. Think about it. Every generation has a quarterback who shifts the landscape. From Tom Brady's rise as an overlooked draft pick to Patrick Mahomes redefining what an offense can look like, history proves that talent finds its way to the top. Sanders is cut from that same cloth. He may face resistance, skepticism, and even attempts to sideline him, but eventually, ability wins out. And when you pair his arm talent with his composure, his leadership, and his drive, the outcome feels less like a question of if and more like when. The Browns know this. That's why they can't treat him as just another rookie. They're holding a piece of the future in their hands, and how they choose to handle it will define their own story. Because here's the truth: if Cleveland doesn't fully embrace him, another team will. And once he's given the chance to take over, the inevitability of his rise will be written in the box scores every Sunday. But what makes Sanders' future so intriguing isn't just his skill set, it's the combination of timing and narrative. He's entering the NFL at a moment when the quarterback position is evolving faster than ever. Dual-threat players are rewriting playbooks, media buzz drives as much attention as statistics, and fan culture is more engaged and demanding than it's ever been. Shedeur steps into that storm with not only the talent to thrive, but also the media savvy and personal brand to dominate the spotlight. That blend, it's exactly what makes his trajectory unstoppable. And here's the kicker: Sanders knows it too. His interviews, his body language, his approach, everything signals that he's not waiting for permission to become great. He's preparing as though greatness is already on the horizon, and all he has to do is stay ready when opportunity knocks. That kind of self-belief, when paired with real talent, has a way of bending reality until it becomes truth. So, whether the Browns lean in or hedge their bets, the outcome doesn't change. Shadeur Sanders is on a path that feels impossible to derail. The question isn't if he'll arrive, it's how long it'll take and who he'll be wearing a jersey for when it happens. Because in football, stars can be doubted, criticized, even benched. But when a player is built for greatness, the future is inevitable. And in the case of Shadeur Sanders, that future is coming faster than anyone realizes. If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.